back to our podcast. I'm Anne.
And I'm Yael.
So we always have to choose a topic, and today, of course, was another what are we going to talk about? What are we going to talk about today? And you came up with a really good one.
Yeah, I was thinking that our business, what makes our business so fun is like all the interesting people that we meet and all the, people think that I do boring stuff, looking at numbers and calculating payments, and I do that, but that's like the smallest part of my day. My main focus is with relationships and getting to know people and getting to learn their story and, learning from it or learning from not to be it and things like that.
It's funny. I met with somebody yesterday, a young girl, and she's at a job, and her boss sent her to represent the company at a networking meeting. So I sat there next to her. I happened to know her. And I said, "Are you nervous?" And I said, "Do you like your job?" I don't think it's going to last. So I happen to know that she's not really so good at what she does because she called my office so that we can do business with her. And she sounded like she was asleep on the phone. And I was going to call her and tell her that, you got to pep up your game a little bit if you want to get any clients. Anyway, so she just said she's still trying to find herself. She doesn't know what she wants. I said, "What is your passion?" She said, "Helping others." I said, in my business that I do, you'd think it's dry, just like you said. All I do is do numbers and I crunch numbers, but really I change people's lives. And I have that satisfaction of knowing that when somebody closes on a mortgage, there's a really good chance in every loan we close that we solve the problem. We change their lives. We help their family gain stability. And we do a lot, and it makes you feel very good and you really help people. And what I advised her was that whatever she chooses to do with her life, whatever path that her life takes her, that she can find in whatever job she does, she can find what she wants to give her that sense of satisfaction. But what I find interesting is the relationships. But, sometimes in the course of doing mortgages and talking to so many people, I find interesting what people do for a living. I mean, sometimes we have the regular people where people marketing, people do desk jobs, people are in the nursing and the medical field, people do,
So what was your most interesting person?
It's not this, but I'll tell you one thing that really was fascinating to me. One of the clients I closed was a sailor. Like, who's a sailor in 2023? We have boats that have engines. And he actually worked for the Coast Guard, and he used to sail the tall ships. So when they were in the Battery Park, he sailed it there. He took them back to Virginia.
That's fun.
But he was actually a sailor. His title was engineer, and he was with the Coast Guard for many years. I'm trying to think how many kids grow up and say they want to become a sailor. And he got paid very nicely. So that was interesting to me, just different things that people could do.
It's like, a tinker, a tailor, a sailor, a soldier. It's like old-time kind of professions. I don't even know what a tinker is.
A tinker? I guess he's like a jack of all trades and fixes things,
that's
like
what
a handyman.
Oh, okay. I don't want to be a tinker.
No.
I once did a loan for somebody that, when I looked at his tax returns, I saw that he had gambling income. He made a lot of money, 6 figures in gambling income. And I asked him for the last 3 years returns because it was so unusual. And he consistently made $250
Are you
a
allowed
year.
to use that as income?
Yeah. As long as I wrote down
That's
as
a couple years in a row, right?
Yeah, as long as 3 years in a row, I wrote professional gambler.
Wow.
So that was an interesting thing to me.
I have another one that's interesting. I did a loan for somebody, a divorced woman, and she was very nervous. She was buying her first house and by herself, and I asked her what she did for a living, and she told me that she's a contractor. And very few women are contractors. So I asked, just trying to break the ice in our conversation, I asked her what she does. So she says, well, she basically gets a subs and she goes to job sites. I said, you put on big boots? She goes, well, sometimes, but not really. I don't know if I qualify. And she's just she's really nervous. I said, okay, send me your tax returns for the past couple of years. And she had a brother who's willing to co-sign. I said, if it doesn't work, we'll tell your brother. Anyway, get her tax returns. And her contracting business made double 6 figures, was nice. But the interesting thing was she had a Schedule C. She's self-employed as a decorator. And that one she made almost 7 figures. And she didn't even tell me about it.
And that's very funny.
Yeah, it was like her side job.
That's so funny. But it is unusual. I think you'd probably be a good contractor.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, I'd be terrible.
No, I think you'd be good. You'd probably be very good at it.
No, I'd have
You'd show up in your boots.
I'd show up in my boots and I'd have a very good idea of what the job should be and how it should be organized, but I don't see myself really like being so pushing each sub to make sure it happened on time.
You don't think so?
No,
I
they'd
think you're very pushy.
probably tell me that they have to take the kid to school that day, and I feel so bad for the kid who wouldn't
They
go
don't.
to school.
Women are not usually the ones, putting the tiles down. They don't have to take the kids to school.
I don't know. So that was one thing. That was very interesting.
I actually just thinking I had such interesting scenarios over my life. I one time had a client that called me, and she was giving me the information for her mom, the name, social, and address. And I got the tax returns. Everything looks good. And I, just because it was her daughter, I just said, hey, can I talk to your mother really quickly? Just get permission to run the credit. And before that, she asked me, how does it work with the closing? I'm like, well, we send a closer. It has to be notarized. And she was like, looking at me, and I was like, maybe we can send somebody to the house if she's homebound. I was trying to figure out solutions. And then she whispers to me that her mother's dead.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
So I was like, whoa. Okay. And I guess she was taking a credit card. I don't know what this woman was doing.
I don't know.
But I
made check the dead woman's credit. Did you?
No. I
so
just told her that.
Did she send you proof of income?
Yeah, she gave me the
she's
tax
cashing
returns and
the
everything. I don't know. I just washed my hands of this so fast.
Yeah.
But that was an interesting one. I also, you get to meet a bunch of different people. I one time met, it wasn't even my client, but this is a processor. When I was processing a loan, I had to be about 20 years ago. I got, the client was purchasing a house right next door, and he was swearing he's moving into it. Now, the house was smaller than the house that he lived in. So I had to, it didn't make sense. You always want to have improve. And usually people who buy the house next door, it's usually for an investment, for a child, a parent. Something didn't make sense. And but the client was insisting, and you never want to call a client a liar. So I was like, you got to give me some kind of letter, because no underwriter is going to believe it. I'm having a hard time believing it. And the guy brings in the next day, he brings in a picture of the front lawn of the house next door, and it was a rock. And the rock was shaped in a very weird way. And he's like, and he showed me that in his religion, this rock, this shape meant something. I don't remember what it was, but he had to. That's why he bought the house next door, because he could see it. And if it's on the property, it's even more important. And he would, get everlasting, karma or something. And he insisted on buying it. So you can't fight with religion.
I once had it's very interesting you bring that story up. I had the opposite story once. I had a client that was in contract. They put down payment. They were actually clear to close and supposed to close within the week. And I get a phone call from them. We cannot buy this house, and they can't tell me why. So I called the realtor. I says, anything going on that I should know about? She says, yeah. They went down the street, and they always saw the house. Whatever time they saw the house, they didn't notice that directly across the street from their house, there was another house. And on that house, there was actually a couple of outdoor figurines of ornaments or whatever they were. And one of them was, they thought it was an idol. And they didn't want to live in a house that every time their children go outside, they'd see what they consider to be an idol. And they said they can't even have any friends come to their home. They couldn't invite their children friends over. They cannot have the children ride their bikes, and they don't even know if the children go to the bus from the house because they're going to pass this idol. And none of us ever heard of anything like that. They were willing to lose their down payment over it.
Wow. So very interesting ending to the story. So no one knew what to do. They were adamant they're not closing on the house. So it happened to be that, so we were honest. Not me. The agent told the listing agent what was going on. And the attorney for the seller called me. And he said, I understand there's a problem. He goes, I used to date the daughter of the person across the street. Oh, that's wild.
And I'm going to see if I can reach out to them. And he reached out to them, and he got through to his ex-girlfriend. He reached out to their parents, And they agreed to take it away for $500. And the deal closed.
That's a good ending.
It's a true story.
You really can't argue with religion because you saw they were willing to take monetary losses. In my case, the client was willing to move to a smaller home, and just because this is what they believe in. So, when you believe in something, I think that trumps everything.
Well, I'll tell you something really interesting that happened to me just a couple of weeks on the vein of your story. So a couple of weeks ago, I had a group of realtors come to my office, actually right in this conference room. And I met with a few groups in a row because our company just came out with a really fantastic new program. It's unique to us. It's a renovation style loan. There's a little bit of reverse engineering of a 203K of Fannie Mae home style. If you want to know information about a fantastic renovation loan, you'll reach out afterwards. But we were discussing with the different realtor groups to talk to them about this program to see how they can incorporate it in their listing presentations. So in the course of this coming together, one of the groups that came had a realtor there, and she said, oh, it might be good for such and such person. And it turns out that she has 2 houses across the street from her, where this older man lives in them, and they both want to be sold, but they have to be fixed. And I said to her, and I don't know how it came out, but she said he lives in both houses. I said, how does he live in both houses?
Yeah, it makes no
sense. She goes, I promise you, I watch him. He goes from one house to the other house. He doesn't rent any of them out. He lives in both houses. I said, what do you mean? He has 2 owner-occupied properties? She goes, yeah, I'm telling you, he lives in both houses. I said, what does his tax return show? 2 addresses? And we had the president of FM Home Loans in the office. And I said, here, David, here's the proof. You could buy 2 owner-occupieds next door to each other. This guy lives in 2 houses for the past 20, 30 years.
That's funny, but really, what was the story?
He actually lives in both houses. He probably had 1 house full of junk, or 1 house he lived in. I don't know. But
Talking
he actually
about junk.
Yeah.
I had a deal that the client was refinancing. The appraiser called me and said that they couldn't walk into some of the rooms because it was full of junk. It was a hoarder's house. The appraiser called the managing company and let him know that he couldn't take decent pictures because I think the living room, the bedroom, like a bunch of rooms couldn't even go in because of the junk and the garbage. And I was like so shocked and fascinated by this. I'm like, what was in there? Like every magazine, every single school newsletter, they just keep things. To me, I don't tell anybody, but I throw everything out. I like to just clean. So everybody's different. So that's really what I like about this business. You get to meet the people who like to keep their children's newsletters from when they're, 2 years old. And then you get to meet the people that live in a spick and span and they only have a toothbrush. You get to meet all different kinds of people.
That's true. You meet all different kinds of people and you see how people get, you get overwhelmed with some things, other people don't. I mean, I had a conversation this morning talking about different kind of people. I had a conversation this morning right before we recorded this. I got a referral from a realtor. I called the client up and I always say hello in the same way. I go, hi, it's Ann Zeilingold, FM Home Loans. Tell me something good today. The guy responds, we can cut the chit chat out for now. Let's go down to business. I paused and I said, what's your name, address, social security number? So he gave me a half laugh. I said, I have to start the conversation. Are you buying a house? Are you going to move into the house? Is it an investment property? Like, what are you doing here? And then we had a normal conversation. But
so that answer was great. That actually reminds me of that story that you told me once. Tell us the story because it's a great story. I can't. Every time I hear it, I just start laughing again.
I tell it to people. It's right. A couple of years ago, I had a gathering in my house. It was actually my dining room. It was for a community project, and I had about 9 to 10 women sitting around my dining room table, and we were going to work on this community project, as I said. And I realized after the first person has started to speak that I really should have some kind of like attendance record. So I took out a piece of paper, I handed it to the first woman. I said, listen, we have to have an attendance record, so give me your name, address, and social. So she writes in her name, her address, and her social security number. Goes to the next person, and she writes her name, her address. She goes, why am I giving you my social security number? So I said, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm in the mortgage business. I'm so used to asking for that. I really wanted your name, your email address, and your phone number. And everyone laughed. And the woman goes, I wish I knew about you because I just refinanced with such and such bank. So I said, oh, that's nice. I'm glad that you were happy to refinance. She goes, oh, I first started with somebody who lives in the area. A local realtor referred this woman, and she was just so unprofessional. I couldn't. So I said to her, oh, which realtor referred the agent? And she mentioned a realtor that I do a lot of business with. So I was so curious who this mortgage person was. I want to know who the agent is sending her, she wasn't loyal, who she's sending her other people to. And she goes, oh, I really don't want to say. I said, okay. And then she mentioned what was so unprofessional. So it seems the woman never called her back, and she told her to text information, and she just was highly unprofessional. A few minutes later, I went to the kitchen to replenish the water, and this woman followed me in, and she goes, I'll tell you who it was. It was Zeilingold. So I said, oh, that's me. Just what I do so bad. So she expounded that what happened was she had called me, and I responded, I can't talk now, text me your information. And she took that as being really highly unprofessional. And me, on the other hand, when I'm talking on the phone, let's say I'm driving, I'm on the phone. Of course, through a handheld, not a handheld piece, when I'm on the phone.
Of course.
So I'm having a conversation, and I get a call in. I pick up the call in case it's my children with an emergency from school. So I do pick up a call. I don't know if it could be a teacher or a secretary's cell phone number, because I went on the caller ID. But when it's another business call, I don't stay on the phone. I say, please, I used to tell people, just text me your info so I can call them back. Because the second I hang up with that person on the phone, another call is going to come in. My phone doesn't stop one after another. And I thought it was such a good thing to ask somebody to text it to me. This way, I for sure will get back.
So how do you remedy it for people like her?
Well, I changed my script. Instead of just saying, I probably was very harried. I probably was very fast.
Okay.
And I probably just said, can't talk, text me your info. So now I say, I'm so sorry, I'm on the other line with the client and I can't talk to you now. And because I'm driving, I cannot write this down. And because my phone keeps on ringing one after another, I'd appreciate if you can text me information and I'll get back to you within the hour. Is that okay?
That's perfect.
And that's right there. I changed my whole script.
All right, I like it. So you learn from your mistakes.
Yeah. But it's funny because I told a lot of people this story because it's interesting to me. The interesting part was not that this happened. It was funny that it was me that she said, but I didn't find it. Most people I spoke to did not find it unprofessional, but she did.
She did. So you just perfected your script a little bit.
But the thing that's interesting is that you don't always know how the other person is going to take what you tell them. So it's so important that you say it in the right way or in a way that someone else can feel comfortable.
There's also sometimes you can't win everybody.
You can't win everybody, but that's an easy fix.
That was very easy.
And I also understood why somebody would be put off.
And I love that she told you who it was.
Well, the best.
At least it wasn't me. I would hate that.
I would have just said, "Oh yeah, I just not. That's just a tip of the iceberg."
Thank you, Ed.